Aloha mai kako. Greetings, everyone. My name is Audrey Kitagawa. You can read more about my bio, which is being placed in the chat box. Thank you so much for joining us today for the premiere showing of Niu Now, Reconnecting to the Tree of Life. This film was created by the International Academy for Multicultural Cooperation in cooperation with Niu Now, an exciting movement to ensure food sovereignty in Hawaii through the resurgence of the niu or coconut and the remembrance of the cultural heritage, values, and sacred relationality of the indigenous people of Hawaii and ultimately all peoples everywhere to the earth, life, and each other. I would like to acknowledge the Interfaith ʻOhana of Hawaii, and it is a network of faith communities for their commitment to the annual Gift of Aloha or Gift of Love as part of the celebration of World Interfaith Harmony Week, which the ʻOhana celebrates for the entire month of February of each year. And ʻOhana in Hawaiian means family, and we are all family. After viewing this film, Dr. Manulani Aluli Meyer and Indrajit Gunasekara will share more about this movement in Hawaii. You can read their bios, which are being placed in the chat box, and let's start the film.
Kulu o puakai, ma'alihilani kai, kulalani ka hiko kai, elo o lalo I ka vai o kulani hakoi. Kulu maila ua, haveve maila ua, loku maila ua, e o lako lalo nei. I kupua mu o maila, mu o alaula maila, lau alala maila, lala akumu maila, kumu apa ina ole. Ua ikea.
The great change is upon us. Our systems of water, our systems of food, our systems of relationality, they are collapsing. The stakes are high. But you know what? We've seen this before. So then the response then has to be more conscious, more connected to a deeper and more mature understanding of our potential around how we can do this differently. E ko niu la e ke akua, niu hiva niu lelo niu hau. I have a dream, and that we regain our relationship with the niu. And when we regain the relationship with the niu, we'll understand more about how to make cordage. We'll understand how to give out water, make milk, make cream, how to cook better, how to understand the efficacy of mulch. We will understand a lot more about ourselves when we grow coconuts.
Wakaua eluna lilo, kamea imana onui, na lehu a paula, mai Hawai'i a kauai, ni hau mole o lehua, wakaua ene ke kini, aya kala niki e ki e, ka vehi o ke kapu.
Our deities became our elemental forms in a very practical, land-based, spiritual sense. Pele as the tumultuous lava that explodes. Pele as the destroyer. Hi'iaka I kapole o Pele, the regenerator of land. We had a relationship with these energies because we lived and learned from them. And we were humbled with their awesomeness, and we were inspired by their ability to instruct, spank, nourish. The land practices of Hawaii and of my kupuna were vast, absolutely vast. The Ahupua'a system is a system that runs from upland, which is Mauka, to Makai, which is seaward. We had a system of understanding where the water should be shunted to for the growing of specific foods. And at the end, inevitably, there was always a loko i'a or loko ea, which is our fish ponds. And we produce millions of tons of fish for our people on all islands. The breakings of traditions in Hawaii is a long story. Contact introduced diseases to us that basically wiped out my people. Close to 90% of Native Hawaiians were gone by 1890. Our knowledge was cut. We lost our lands by 1850, 1860. Land for us was not a commodity. So by 1850s, when they developed the great land division called the Mahele, we did not understand what that even meant to sign up for land. It was not in our worldview to own land. The breaking up of our relationship with food, our food sources, our language, and then they even outlawed hula and thought hula for many generations. So the cultural decay was definitely conscious on the part of others. And so we began to feel less than and unworthy. We were not in agreement with America that we wanted to be a colony. This is not true. We were taken in a simple majority of Congress because they needed these lands for the Spanish-American War. We are completely entrenched in American thought patterns. And so instead of being angry, my family, we were coached to be clear, to be creative, to be collaborative, to be enduring.
I just felt I needed to talk about that dimension of spirituality. I come from the indigenous people of this land. Indeed, the coconut is the life plant. Coconut trees are not decorative. Use it in a living way. You have a resource if you have a plant, but there's a greater connection we must hook up to. That helps us to remember that this is much greater than mankind. It connects us with the spiritual domain that links us to the Aina. So it's that ecosystem of man's use of the products of the gods that helps to re-nurture the Aina, that provides us the food that we eat.
I think about the life that I grew up with as a little child and how precious it was and how gifted I was to have lived. At that time, it brings tears to my eyes because so much of it has been lost. And my family, my Kavelo family, grew up with beautiful kalo. But my generation, a lot of it was not shared of all of the things that they grew up with. We could not speak the language. It was not taught to us. We could barely dance hula, but we lived the Hawaiian way at home through my dad. We always would have big luau's. So coconut, the Niu, was a very integral part of our family gathering. And everything was gathered and put in a big pile because you plan a year ahead. But everything was made from scratch, none of this in the can. So I got to witness all of that, to see how it was made and catching everything from the ocean, you know, and my family still does it now. But I could see eventually where all of this is going to be lost, and it's sad. It's very sad.
Indigenous peoples are around the world are bearing the kaumaha, the heaviness of industrialization. We are vulnerable because we import close to 90% of our food. It's a dilemma. So we take the brunt because we've seen it, we've predicted it. Once you start commodifying land and separating the flow of water, and once you put it so that you can give it to hotels, we knew this was going to be a dead end. So yes, we might have been the canary in the mine, and we're hanging upside down, breathing our last breaths. But so what? We have to befriend each other so that we can articulate and work together to respond more accurately to the needs of our time. We're not meant to exclude because of our continuity in a place. We're meant to simply be clear.
Back here at home, more developments in the ongoing water issues surrounding the Pearl Harbor area.
Last night, the health department confirmed diesel fuel was found in water collected at the Navy's Halava shaft. And they tell us that samples taken on Sunday had levels more than double the state's limit for drinking water.
You know, the mindset of America is, you've got to do for me. And that is not where the mo'o lives. That is not where continuity lives. Continuity lives in the request, what can I do for you? And when you have that sparks simultaneity. Because when you are in the service of others, energy and energetic fields gets activated and things start to happen that you have no knowledge of prior to your commitment to another. So when you worry about your kupuna, your elder that's next door, you know, take care of your elder. When we had an event in 2008, a Hawaiian Youth Food Sovereignty Conference, 200 people came for 5 days. And when that event was finished, every student, there was about 200 of them, ages between 18 and 30, and they all knew that when the collapse comes, when the change comes, they've got to be ready to give food away. Give food. We're not getting guns and isolating ourselves. They know, I know, and that's what this Niu Now is about, is to prepare ourselves to share food so we can be of service to others. Niu Now is a movement of friends dedicated to the animation of cultural agroforestry. Coconuts at the center. Love of land is at the center. Service to people, same thing. When we grow coconuts, humanity thrives. Kupu kaniu, kupu ke kanaka. It's a mahina poi poi, so it's a full moon today. So we use the energetic field of the rising fullness of the moon to plant our seed coconuts so that in 6-7 months, when the makahiki season has begun, we're going to give them away.
Elo elo o lalo isa vai o kula ni hako I Kulu kulu mai la ua ha bebe mai la ua loku loku mai la ua e o lako lalo ne I kupua mu o mai la mu o laula mai la laua lala mai la lala akumu mai la kumu apa aino ole
In the early 1900s, as tourism was ramping up, coconuts became a liability. There is the fear element that coconuts are going to fall and hurt them. So now coconuts are seen in Hawaii as an ornamental tree and not a food tree. Our job is to understand the coconut as people of Hawaii. And then when we can do that, then we will not have fear of coconuts. We will understand when to pick them, when to avoid, and everyone knows in Hawaii, don't sit under a coconut tree. So the change of that is now my kuleana to fix. And to find Indrajit was just the right activation. Indrajit Gunasekara is a native of southern Sri Lanka. And so his knowledge of coconuts is immeasurable and infinite. He grew up with coconuts, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Coconuts not only were food for him, they were a spiritual principle of his how to behave. And so we call Indrajit our indigenous knowledge holder. We have in Indrajit the capacity to learn again what we have always known. Because of our trauma, it's been kind of cut away for a little while. But just like essence never leaves, the form changes, but the essence is always here.
Sustainability for the Kamaina community in Hawaii is possible.
Yeah.
It is doable.
Nice.
We actually need to work with the land and look in the practitioner manner. And eventually, when you work with the land, when you see the growth and the potential and the community willingness, that gives hope that this is something doable. It's not something new, something regenerating a wheel. This something already exists. By the way, there's a variety. There's a variety of coconut. When there is no attention being given to either the function or the variety, what is going to happen is that variety is going to disappear over a time. My background is I'm a Southern Sri Lankan. It is a part of our culture that we look to this tree truly how it's understood in Hawaiian culture like a kumu niu, a source or a teacher or a guru. This is not a title that given by scientists or somebody else romanticized coconut. This is something our ancestors did. The land that you live in, most of the time, place that you inherited from your family, your grandparents, all trees. We know some of my family planted this tree for us to eat, for food. That has a value, and that also a responsibility for us to take care of that place and treat it as mother, something that we bow down, like bowing down to a mother.
So the tropical belt is where most of the coconuts are. Hawaii, Sri Lanka, West Africa. So it's one of the main crops that are found in the tropical area. So millions and millions of people see this tree as the tree of life.
Thanks to Niu, I'm alive today. As the youngest of 11 kids, it was very difficult to find 3 healthy meals a day. And quite often I would go to the forest and cut open coconut, and that was what sustained me in terms of food a lot of the time. My people have a very, very sophisticated knowledge of Niu. And as you've just heard, Niu is used for just about everything.
Coconut fundamentally is about food and food security. I remember when Indrajit first served me freshly squeezed coconut milk. I drank it and I cried. It was so beautiful. What else am I not exposed to? What else do I not know? A lot.
Well, you know, I grew up in Rotuma in Fiji. Rotuma is a tiny island, 300 miles north of Fiji. And there are probably 3 times more coconut trees than people. It's a very, very generous giving tree, you know. Like, you know, for the indigenous people of old, before they fell down a tree that's 100 years old to make a waka, they would ask for forgiveness. They would ask the tree for permission for them to cut it down and transform it into a waka that would journey, you know, beyond the lagoon, discover new lands and populate them, you know. But it's a recognition that that tree has a life force of its own.
The husk of the coconut is for, we're calling it climate change planting mitigation methodology. It retains moisture. So it's like a sponge, it's like a natural sponge. So we plant the coconut husks with our trees and our plants, and it stays moist for months. Coconuts are always known as the first to come to atolls and then because of what happens with how it grows, eventually the resting of the birds create the manure, it creates an oasis. First to come, last to leave, because they can withstand all the hurricanes and everything. If a hurricane is coming on your island, you lash yourself to a coconut tree. Yeah, everybody knows that.
I'm excited because when this project first started, we had no idea where these plants were going to go. They always had kuleana, they always had responsibility to feed people and contribute to communities. But today that's come to fruition. They're going home with people and they're going to feed families, they're going to feed communities. And yeah, that's what it's all about, really.
Today, we planted 108 coconuts. Kukani Loko at the center of Oʻahu reverberates with the healing process of birthing. It has birthed our ali'i. And so we planted a ulunio, coconut grove, to be of service to that process, because there's energy birthing itself now. And Kukani Loko is that special place in Hawaii. We are planting it in a very famous ancient grove called Helumua within Waikiki. This grove had at least 10,000 coconut trees at one time. And this place was beloved because of the bounty of food and the bounty of mo'olelo and stories that it held. So today, to plant a coconut tree that will keep their coconuts is big.
It means a lot to give the proper respect to a food tree, to the tree of life, to be in that tree's full capacity, to the full potential.
I Kahiko
Aloha kakahiaka kako. I'm the state's urban and community forester with a program called Ka'ulunani, the beautiful growth. And we are so grateful to be able to learn from Indrajit and Jesse and Manu, not only how to grow coconut, but how to grow soil, how to grow community, and really how to be a model for what community forestry is, for what urban forestry is. It's not only about, expanding our urban tree canopy, carbon sequestration, which it is, but if you don't have these other pieces, these relationships, these practices, the rest isn't going to happen, and the rest really doesn't matter.
We're keeping a torch lit to allow other people to come through. You gotta constantly plant it to upkeep the variety, to upkeep the stories that come with it, to upkeep the use. And I think when we all participate in that practice, we develop that connection, and it becomes much more important to us, Because gotta be honest, in this day of time, there's so many things distracting us from these type of connections,
Our ways of behaving are shaped by our principles and what we view and what we value. And when you can embody those principles and express them in the world, it becomes native common sense. And native common sense, the idea of indigeneity, is really a synonym for continuity.
When we were working with the land, we had flooding, we had storm, but we did not see it as a disaster. What my mother would say, what my grandparents would say, what my fathers would say. In the philosophically for us, the same God who is the creator and destroyer, our challenge was to figure out working with each other and understanding better the places we live.
Hawaii is going to be pivotal in being of service to worldwide awakening. We recognize our difference, and that is what Niu Now and this coconut movement is all about. The strength of how we differ combined with the same purpose. Food security for our people, cultural rejuvenation for our nation of Hawaii, and a revival of Aloha. Hahai no ka ua I ka ulu la'au. Plant a forest and the rains will come. And what that means in the deeper kauna of it is share purpose with others and live a life of meaning. As we work to recover what has never been lost, never. We have only lost some of the form, but the essence of our people in Hawaii is so alive because the spirit of Aloha is at the core of who we are. Love land, serve people. Serve land, love people.
Thank you so much, and welcome, Dr. Manulani Meyer and Indrajit Gunasekara. I really want to express my deepest appreciation to both of you and all those participating in the Niu Now movement for reconnecting us. Manulani, don't cry. I'm watching you cry. It's making me cry. And really reconnecting us to the tree of life, the Niu. At the center of this movement is a reestablishment of the people's love of Niu and the ancient knowledge and practices of Hawaii's coconut heritage. In your words, Manulani, you said this movement is a movement of friends dedicated to the animation of cultural agroforestry and revival of Aloha. Its goal is to share food and be of service to others and to encourage others to embrace these values. And now, Manulani, I'd like to turn the floor over to you. Please share with us.
Aloha mai kākoa pau, everyone. Thank you, Audrey. I'd like to just first of all begin by toasting with Indrajit to you and to Aloha, to Duffy and the team, because this is our Niu, everybody. This is coconut water. To drink coconut water and to have it part of our day is a very important aspect. So cheers, everybody. Indrajit, let's cheers to the gang. Here we go. Of course, he's got the coconut. I've had to. This is fresh Niu from Ilikole, and different phases of the coconut give us the different tastes. And I've learned that from you, Indrajit. So in my 5 minutes, gang, I just want to say that we are learning about the potency of our differences. And when you can figure out what that is, all you got to do is offer it to others. And when people say yes to Niu Now, they're actually saying yes to getting to know the future of Hawaii, because we are going to learn how to have a better relationship with each other, a better relationship with Aina, with our beloved lands, and a better relationship with ourselves. Because when we return to the love of land and service to people, the party's on. I really, really feel it. And Indrajit, it's been a really wonderful party of getting to know what coconuts are all about and getting to know the importance of a sharing economy. I mean, we all know that that it's time now to introduce the sacred economics into the world. And here is yet another process that we can learn more about ourselves in doing so. So I want to thank you, Indrajit, for saying yes to this potent gift that you give to Hawaii. And we're neonates. Albie Miles, our beloved friend, gave us the term neonates. So we're the young ones to learn from our older sibling, our Southern Sri Lankan, our Vilsona Hiraniko from Rotuma, our Samoan cousins, our Tongan cousins, our Micronesian cousins. When we learn from our Mana Moana, the Pacific Islanders of Oceania, we are learning how to befriend each other. So what an honor it is. So Audrey, thank you for this opportunity. Truly, mahalo nui.
Thank you so much. And Indrajit, you know, your knowledge of the coconut is so vast and deep, and you have been very instrumental in helping this new movement to be created and to grow. So Indrajit, would you please share it with us?
Mahalo, Audrey. Mahalo nu for your team, Duffy, and following us nearly last 2 years, allowing our story to be told in this manner, at helping anybody who are doing something. We are doing something together, and we are recognizing our own relationship to the land. And we especially choose to work with the Niu, the coconut tree, and where our tropical island and ancestors collectively chose this tree to be the tree of life, that we sustaining that our own relationship with this tree. So understanding the complexity of the tree and the genetic diversity and the different, and then allowing that what we are understanding to reflect on ourselves and seeing ourselves, each other, and the land, and that necessity and our very own role living in the community, sharing. I see my role, my work, my awakening is generated through that understanding what I saw while growing up in my own home in southern Sri Lanka, Matara, my own village in Nadugala. And that same connection I carried through me to my new home. That's where I see that we all have something to offer to each other, to work together, and to see ourselves through other than we are trying to look to a computer screen or a financially driven world. And in that capacity, I think this is teaching us to be who we are truly. Mahalo, thank you.
Thank you so much, Indrajit. And, I have some questions that have arisen that I'd like to deepen the conversations. So, Manulani, you said that Hawai'i would be pivotal in a worldwide awakening. And can you explain what you mean by that?
Absolutely. The Aloha spirit is at the center of Hawaii. We struggle, of course, because of the demands of modernity and the society that we currently live in. But Aloha is the primal source of our collective emergence. It's been foretold, it's been envisioned, it's been dreamed, it's been imagined. And when people pass and if they do return, they tell us the most important thing to do in the world is to learn how to love. And in Hawaii, loving Aloha is our true intelligence. And when you really get that, our geography shapes us. Our geography reminds us that this is our knowing and this is our practice. And the coconut tree allows us to practice this giving, because it gives everything of itself to us always. And that's why we're going to be pivotal, because we still believe that Aloha is our center. We still practice that. And we know when we're not there. And when we're not there, then we have to return by a process of ho'oponopono. Ho'opono, the returning of pono, of goodness through goodness. So yes, I believe Hawaii, it's been told to me by elders and by people that are completely connected to universal understanding, that's integrated, that's transspatial, that's amazing. And when they told this to me 30 years ago, I started to pay attention to what they meant by it. And I believe this process, and so that you can give away food and feed your family at the same time, is key to it. Simple. Love land, serve people.
Thank you so much. And, Indrajit, your upbringing is in Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean. And how does it connect to the Hawaiian community in the Pacific Ocean? How did you get together?
I see that the connection is we share principles. Whether we practice things differently, we verbalize things differently, we see and we recognize that in the main philosophy of our ancestral practices has very similarities and very basically taking care of each other, like Auntie Manu explained, in like loving the land, not what I can take, where my practice, my service will be fit better. That type of thinking, that kind of understanding, and being able to generate joy doing something. I think that's a principle that I shared, that I see, that I was brought up with in my own community, my own home, that I recognize that practice in Hawaii, in Aloha practice as the same practice to be. And that's where I see that even though we do sometimes things different way, but at the end, there is no conflict. We have a deeper understanding. This is not the conflict. We all working together to resolve a conflict. We are all together working for a solution. And we recognize each other in that capacity. I think that allows us to see each other in a deeper sense and us to understand, recognize each other in a mutual, respectful way.
What I was saying is that when you understand the concept of the purpose of difference, then we connect to our shared purpose, and our ideas then are going deep and the purpose goes wide. So what I learned from Indrajit is that we have different skill sets, we have different forms of excellence, and when you combine that, you actually create that that wholeness that is there when you allow people to flower into their goodness. And joy begets joy begets joy begets joy. We so get that, Indrajit. We so get that, Audrey, everybody. So when you come from joy, even amidst destruction and chaos, when that center is still, and we do have a practice, our practice is shaped by this concept of simultaneity. You know, as you sow, so shall you reap. Aloha aku, aloha mai. Paticca samuppada, mutual self-becoming. Mutual self-becoming, how's that? So we believe in this. We know this to be true because we have seen it in our growing of plants and trees. Simple.
How beautiful to be encouraging and supportive of the realization of each person and in community to realize the fullness and beauty of their own potential. So thank you so much for sharing that, Manulani. And, you know, Indrajit, in the film, you talked about the diversity of coconut and the varieties. And can you tell us, what does coconut diversity mean to you?
Do you know, when we look at the diversity, we are looking at a function. Like example, if we are looking at the tree that produce sweet water, or the milk, or the nice long nut that used to make cottage and the rope, that we are looking at that function, what tree is good for that function. Then understanding a little bit with the scientifically and looking at how this tree behave, how to keep that gene pool separately so that variety can live. That where our ancestral knowledge, our ancestral understanding come in. So our ancestors, the one who chose this to be the tree of life, and they understood this complexity and that genetic diversity. So today's our function is, our role is to understand what we have and how to put those trees into the best places and to have the hand of the people that who perpetuate those practices. And then I'm looking at the culture and the practice and the creativity. So the variety and that different is embedded in that areas. This can be even the demographically in the area that people make rope, or the people weaves beautiful basket and the vat, or work with the wood, or making pahu and the working with the coconut wood. Or either way, you're looking at the very particular variety of tree. Not each tree is good for everything. That is our understanding allows us to see and to put the right trees, the right people's hand, and them to be planted in the right places. Especially today, we are looking at the place with the climate change and the sea rising and the erosion. And with those practices, we got to understand what are the trees has the strong root system and what are the trees that do well in the dry land, especially like we are working on the West Oʻahu, one of the driest part of the island of Oʻahu. So we got to understand what are the trees that do well without water or with the minimum amount of water. And so with that small piece of understanding would allow us to hold the soil line in that area. Like we can very widely apply the same level of diversity and the same understanding to a practice and the use.
So thank you. And, you know, Manulani, you have been sharing with us about, you know, very, very deep values. And I wanted to ask, how do you establish values within the local community and elsewhere to support your efforts?
Well, you embody them. I don't think there's a they out there. There's only we. And the embodiment of principles is how I show them and how I work to encourage others through my own mistakes and through my own shortcomings. And so that reflective process, that alumakawai, becomes even more potent when you make that process a collective. And so Indrajit and I, with a whole host of others, have made that process of group self-reflection collective. And so we are not saying they should do this. We are saying this is what we are going to do. And so the they dissolves and the we becomes permanent, because friendships continue through time, through care and awareness and the sharing of principles. And so no one is asked to forced to show up anywhere. Although I have to say, your group came, every single one of it was amazing to see them. And it was beautiful because they captured us in a year and a half worth of work, of doing our new nurseries, our ulu niu, our coconut groves, our sessions over at Iolani Palace, Helu Moa and Waikiki, just having that commitment. So context, repetition, and intention helps us develop that quality of shared intentionality. And when we do that together, it's like a forest is gathering rain. And then this is what I'm noticing. We're seeing rain clouds along the horizon, and we're committed to what that means to the potential of our future. And of course, rain clouds is a synonym for people. So we are seeing people amassing on the horizon, and people are coming to be of service. And when people are combined with principles, it really is an activating process of loving, I think.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And of course, the embodiment of the principle and the values, living it every day, becomes a statement and a legacy of your life and being and becoming. So thank you so much. And Indrajit, what is your understanding of Manulani and her work, of which you are an integral part, and what do you see as your collective vision for the future?
If I say very briefly about Auntie Manu's work and my understanding, she represents a visual form and the action of a philosophy that understood in my own village, from my mother, from my family, from my culture. That Awama Kuliana and the love, Aloha Aina and Aloha Aina, Aina Aloha, the love of land and love of people, and giving without expecting back, and to be happy to give happily, and to be happy that you made the commitment. That understanding, for me, when I was growing up, I was told, when you're making a gift, don't think anything else. If you think anything else, that's not a gift, that you are expecting something else. I see that in action when I work with Auntie Manu. And, for the future, what we see is, we recognize there is a problem, there is an issue, that we have a solution for that. Very basically, rejuvenating the ancient coconut groves in Hawaii, which we are working with, and bringing the community and the attention to this, and understanding the diversity and the practices behind there, and the cultural value, and how to connect that value with our today culture and our today food system. We are connecting to this tree and going to that ancient coconut groves and replanting of sustaining that grove to be true, be alive, and recognizing and understanding these varieties and connecting with the culture, food of today, and the ecological function. When we say ecological function, we are looking at the microorganism and the bees and the pollinators in the area. We are supporting a tree that produces flower year round, and support that pollinators to be alive and to have a reliable resources, that we will have mango, we will have lychee, that we will have more food, and that other trees that needed to be pollinated will be supported. And so our focus is, again, growing large coconut groves, going back to the practice of known in Hawaii as ulu niu.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ulu Niu, Coconut Grove. Thank you. We've learned a lot of Hawaiian today in this film as well. So thank you. And, Manulani, if we were to conclude today, what would you say is the one highlight or important message that you would want all of our listeners to take with us today?
Oh my gosh. I would like our listeners to take away that when you can imagine something, go and do it. And then it gets actually produced with others, and that you can trust that your intentionality over time is like water on stone, and it'll create valleys of change, but you've got to start that drip now. And that drip is always kind of a fountain of forever when it's based on love. And I think love is that's that prime source. And I believe that is what we're meant to do in this world, is just to learn how to love. And I appreciate my brother, Indrajit, because he knows that. And we just laugh all the time and do impossible things with our beloved friends, family, neighbors, partners. And so my message to everyone is love one another. That's it. And plant coconuts. Kupu kaniu, kupu ke kanaka, pua kaniu, pua kawahine ui, hua kaniu, hua na keiki, na pula pula o ka aina. So plant coconuts, everybody, and live a life of gratitude and sharing. Mahalo.
Thank you so much, Manulani, for that important and beautiful message about love. For that is the essence of life itself. And, don't forget, Manulani, I still have to get my dwarf coconut. Okay, so next time I'm in Hawaii, I'm broadcasting from New York City. I'll be sure to get my dwarf coconut from you so I can do a planting in my own yard as well. And I really would like to express my deepest appreciation to Dr. Manulani Aluli Meyer and Indrajit Gunasekara for welcoming our film crew into your beautiful gardens and for participating in our premiere event today. And we thank you both for your vision and commitment to the renewal of coconut culture and practices in Hawaii and all that it represents. An initiative like Niu Now has a potential to effect important change in the consciousness of the people by increasing our understanding of our sacred connection to the earth and the necessity of honoring and respecting our precious natural resources and cultural heritage. And I would also like to thank the video production team at the International Academy for Multicultural Cooperation for their important work in telling the stories of truth about the need to honor and respect the indigenous peoples in Hawaii and everywhere, who are the keepers of sacred knowledge and wisdom that impart the essence of the spiritual foundation of living life and life itself. Aloha nui loa, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. Aloha.